glory remains. The cockerel stands brave on the crest. North London pride, this ain't no jest. From Lane to the new shining ground, echo chants where the legends are found. Heroes carved in the heart of time, we march on through grit and grime. Oh Tottenham, Tottenham till I die. Raise the banner, let it fly. Through the rain, through the fire, this is my club, my only desire. Oh Tottenham, Tottenham till I die. Raise the banner, let it fly. Through the rain, through the fire, this is my club, my only desire. Echoes of King and Greaves in the air. Every goal, the sound declares. Heartbeats pound like a drummer's song, marching forward, fierce and strong. We're the ones who rise in the clash. Numbers running in a white shirt dash. History burns in the roaring crowd. Every game we scream it loud. Oh, I'm Tottenham, Tottenham till I die. Raise the banner, let it fly. Through the rain, through the fire, this is my club, my only desire.
I swear to God, that's the only intro that wants you to get your air guitar out. You know, I saw Dave in the background with his air guitar headbanging to it like he was the lead singer of AC/DC. God, did you get the Easter eggs at the beginning, man?
Yeah.
Did you? Right. Tottenham, before Tottenham were formed, the people that formed Tottenham owned a cricket club. It was formed under a light shade just near White Hart Lane. And then the first two is really early White Hart Lane. So what we've tried to do with that intro is embrace everything that's Tottenham Hotspur into a 2-minute video, 2-minute and 50 intro. So I hope you like it, guys. Let us know. The colouring will be changed. We did slight a bit red. But yeah, we did. So we've got everything there. We've got a bit of Ireland in there because of us. We've got a bit of every bit for tequila, for Ginola, a bit of Berbatov. And then so Dave, they're getting his tissues when he saw Robbie Keane and Defoe and Berbatov getting all giddy and excited. But Dave, how are you, bud? An interesting night last night, wasn't it? In Paris.
Yeah. Very interesting night last night. Plenty of positives, I would argue, to take away
Yeah.
from the game moving forward.
There is positives, there is negatives as well. Pulling our hair out at one point. Thomas Frank. Oh, I want to start with him. Thomas Frank. Does he come out with it with any credit last night? Because I think he should do.
Yeah, I think he deserves a lot of credit from last night. Dermond, the reasons why I give him a bit of credit from last night is because, look, you know, I think I raised fair questions from the very beginning of his appointment, and I think I've raised fair questions recently about, you know, attacking intent, you know, what we're doing in possession, and also, you know, out of possession, you know, the line of engagement, you know, how aggressive, how the lack of aggression out of possession. These are all things that I've flagged and things that Frank needed to change if he wants to get buy-in from people like me, you know, and also if he wants to buy himself time in the job, but also, you know, prove the narrative right that he needs better quality players. There's certain things he needs to do that he needs to change up. And in fairness, last night, he done that. You know, there was a game plan out of possession. We didn't just sit deep like we did against Arsenal, like we did against Chelsea, and just allow them to come at us wave after wave and try and stave them off. We actually tried to fight for the ball and look to try and cause them a few problems. And we done that with aplomb last night. He played 4 centre midfielders. And I said it in my in the half an hour build up to the watch along, that's what I thought the game was. The game plan was that all of them 4 midfielders would get on top of their 3 midfielders, because their 3 midfielders are the best 3 in the world right now. They dictate the tempo of the game. They dictate, how devastating PSG are, and they don't have one way of breaking you down. They have multiple ways, and I thought it was important to try and get a bit of pressure on them, because I said in my predicted lineup, instead of just sitting back, why don't we look at actually what strengths we have? And I looked at that midfield, and I said, if we can get bodies in and around them and use our aggression and use our strength, we might make it a difficult evening for them. So that's exactly what I was asking for, and that's exactly what I got. He's not being as stubborn as maybe Ange Postecoglou was or previous managers. He's willing to sort of take things on board and look to address it. And he done that last night against PSG. Also, there was a game plan in possession. Once we got the ball forward, our wing backs pushed up. Some of the midfielders broke out. We got bodies forward, which was another thing I've been asking for. And there was clear instructions, and players were doing that. So all in all, I think the game plan actually, to a degree, was the right game plan last night. I just thought it was actual individual errors, on the night that sort of let us down. Maybe the lack of composure in big games like that have let us down once again. But in general, I think Thomas Frank comes out with a lot of applause last night. However, what I will say is, it's easy to go out and take the handbrake off to a degree when it's a free hit. Let's see if that same trend continues against Fulham and some of the upcoming games we have coming up.
Yeah, it's true. Look, I wanted your thoughts on that, because I did ask the guys last night, if you were a Lewis family board member, would last night's game change your mind on Thomas Frank? I don't think it does. I've always said, Dave, I want to be proven wrong by him. If I can be proven wrong by him, I will hold my hands up and say I was wrong to go early. But I think you look at Arsenal, and we will get into Arsenal, and the despair that we all felt after that game on Sunday. But let's welcome a few people in. Let's do a housekeeping. Big up to Tequila. He says, I'm Frank Mayer. Is my stance. Hope you're both well. Big up to you, T. Hope you're doing well, bud. He says, that's not Frank in or out. It's Frank. It doesn't matter who manages until a real change happens. And I think he's talking about the board and the transfer window and stuff like that, Dave. Big up to Wayne Bonner. Good afternoon, Dermot, Dave, and Tequila. Hope you're all well. Yeah, we're all right. We are okay. Got to see about 10 minutes in total of the game last night. Saw improvement, saw fight, till PSG scored their third, and then the head seemed to drop. It did. And then it's just them two talking about, I think they're having a bit of a Berbatov orgy, I think, as I would describe it. Should we start with the bad and get that out of the way first, Dave? Let's start with that horrible game on Sunday. Look, North London derby, you know how much we hate. You and me both hate losing to Chelsea and Arsenal. We hate losing in general. You think we get used to it with the Irish team, but, we don't. We just hate losing. Yes, I am emotional. I know Jack, bless him, had a bit of fun with I wear my heart on my sleeve. And I am emotional, Dave. I will come out and I'm hurt.
It's not a bad thing, though, Dermo.
Yeah, if we don't win, it's all about plays. I want them to put an effort in. That's what I want. Bare minimum, play for the shirt. How disgusted were you with Sunday's performance? Because we had to wait 55 minutes before we got a shot on target. There was no game plan. There was no identity. I don't think still there's no identity. And what's worrying me, and somebody said it early, are we just doing what we did last season, saving ourselves for the Champions League and forgetting about the Premier League? Because it does look like that.
Look, the North London derby is first of all, I mean, the manner of the performance, and I think the tactics were all wrong on the day. And I think we actually went in there already waving the white flag, Dermo. I think the system that we went in there sort of and employed, already we went in there with fear. And if you go in there with fear, you're going to end up crumbling. And that's exactly what happened. The game plan didn't work. Whatever the game plan was just didn't work. We played 5 across at the back. But if you actually go and look at certain situations, sometimes we ended up having 6 across that back line, which was absolutely madness. So first and foremost, you're already showing the opposition far too much respect. There was no level, no engagement or no plan of engagement to go and try and press that ball or get under Arsenal's skin and try and win that ball over. We just allowed them to move that ball across the back line and build up moves at will, like we done to Monaco. Far too easy, made it far too easy for them on the day. And then also when we did get possession, there was absolutely no game plan. You know, what areas were we trying to target? Who were we trying to play through? I think, I think he got the team. I think Thomas Frank got the game plan and the team selection wrong on the day at the end of the day, and it wasn't good enough. And I knew the fallout was going to come off the back of it with the manner of it, especially, you play a back five and you end up conceding 4 goals. It's not exactly good indictment. For instance, that the first 5 games or something like that, the first few games, we only conceded like very few goals. And now we've conceded 9 in the last 2. So it shows that defensive stability, we're sort of losing that to a certain degree. But in general, just the whole approach to that game against Arsenal was wrong. He didn't really change anything off the bench or that either, really. And what he did try and change didn't work. And then get on to the players. I mean, again, cowardly mistakes, not enough aggression, and sort of resigned to losing once the first goal went in. And it's nowhere near good enough from any one of them players either. And they also have to hold themselves accountable, because I'm not being funny, but the fact that the manager and the players are coming out apologizing again after such another big game where we haven't turned up. We've heard more apologies than actually performances in big games over the last few years. And this just isn't a Frank problem. This is in general. We got it from Ange. We got it from Conte. We had it from Jose at times. And I'm absolutely fucking fed up with it, especially because they think they can put out these apologies and all is forgiven. At the end of the day, we've heard so many of them nowadays that we actually just want things to be fixed on the pitch. And until we see that, the apology means absolutely nothing to me. And that North London derby defeat was absolutely disgraceful, especially considering you look at the way Sunderland tried to get something out of Arsenal, how much effort they put in, before the international break compared to what we did. Absolutely nowhere near good enough. And that's from management and the players. They showed fear. They showed an element of weakness, and they went into war waving the white flag already. And that's not what we expect at Tottenham Hotspur. At the end of the day, people can sit there and say, look at the level of the squad, blah, 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 blah. We've had some worse teams in years gone by, and we've shown up and given more heart and more energy into these games than what we've shown. So all in all, it was an absolute disaster. And to be honest with you, I think they should have went one further and refunded some of them away fans that went.
I think so, yeah.
They took that hiding up in Newcastle.
Yeah, I think so. And look, I think it's very easily, even with last night's game, Dave, to look at the negative, couldn't you? If you were a Tottenham fan, right, and you didn't see the game, but you saw the stats and you saw the skyline, I wouldn't blame them for thinking, Jesus, another shit show, until you watch the game. So I think stats can also be very misleading from last night as well. But look, for me, I think the difference from last night, I think the players owed us a performance. They owed us to show some effort. They owed us to come out and prove themselves to us. I thought Archie Gray played very well. I thought Lucas Bergville played very well last night. I thought Colo suddenly just turned up and decided to be a striker. Richie actually does play well when he doesn't keep falling on his ass, as I was told earlier, which is true. I thought Vicario did very well last night. He had no chance, none of the goals really, to be fair, but I thought he did all right. And it was nice to see. But Dave, 11 goals conceded in all competitions in our last 3. Only 5 goals scored in our last 3. Champions League is one thing. Bread and butter is another, which is the Premier League. And I just feel if we don't get this home form sorted out sooner rather than later, it's going to come like a hindrance around our neck. We're going to be afraid to play at home. We've got 3 big games coming up. We've got Fulham, Newcastle away, and Brentford at home. I would say I want 7 points at the next 3 games. So that's a win both against Fulham and Brentford, and get a point away at Newcastle. I think that's a minimum. Where are you going for the next 3 games? Because let's start with Fulham. You look at Fulham, it should be 3 points for Tottenham. But as I said, the home form hasn't been great, Dave. I mean, what do you put our home form down to? It was like it under Ange and it's continued under Frank. What do you put it down to? If you could pinpoint one point where you think that's where the problem is? Where do you think the problem is? I think they're scared.
To be honest with you, I'll put it down to the tactics this season employed at home to a certain degree. But in general, I mean, it's not really just one big problem, Darmo. It's sort of a complex of multiple issues. You know, the atmosphere. Let's start with the atmosphere. Since we moved into that stadium, you know, it hasn't really generated the atmosphere that the effort that they put into the stadium, they clearly thought was going to be generated. Because let's not forget, all around the top of that, they've got acoustic panels that reverberate the noise back down, and it's designed to keep the, you know, keep the atmosphere sort of in and around the stadium, but also make it loud and intense. They also built that big stand, which is was inspired off the Dortmund stand, and look at the atmosphere and stuff they generate in there. However, when they moved into the new stadium, people weren't sitting beside people that they used to sit beside and stuff like that. They were scattered everywhere. Spurs fans have also tried to get different various groups going to try and help improve the atmosphere in the stadium. You know, and that goes from singing sections, you know, people coming forward to the club with ideas for tifos, flags, you know, different like drums and trumpets and all that sort of stuff. And the club have never really gone 100% to meet the fan base in that regard. They've always knocked back a hell of a lot of ideas. They've only really took them on when the real big games have come around and they want that. And they know the camera's around. But for the rest of it, they haven't really given a fuck. And I think that needs to change. But then, you know, you look at the fans, they're also being charged one of the highest, if not the highest ticket prices around Europe. The merch is mad expensive, you know, to watch the game on tellies and all. To follow this club, it costs people an absolute fortune that they could be using to put money in elsewhere and improve their own lives and stuff like that. And when you see the level of performances that we get on the pitch, you know, how far we've fallen from them Pochettino days. Fans, it brings that sort of demand, that expectation. Then if fans are being charged it, and at the end of the day, it's not being met by players or coaching staff at the football club. And the problem is then you've got the players then come out like they did after the Chelsea game, blame the Spurs fans for the atmosphere. Thomas Frank coming out after the Chelsea game, getting onto the Spurs fans back for the atmosphere. But what they seem to forget is, at the end of the day, it's up to them to put in performances, and then performances will naturally help generate the atmosphere. You win games at home, it will help naturally generate the atmosphere. But the problem is, any new players, any new manager, any new coaching staff you bring into the environment, they don't understand the frustrations of the first Spurs fan base that has been built up over the years, and they never ever address it. And until someone does, it's not going to improve, because at the end of the day, they're sitting there going, but even when we're losing, you could be screaming us on and stuff. But the reality is, Spurs fans have all lost all belief in this team or this current crop bouncing back in games and stuff like that, no matter how much they sing. At the end of the day, these players and manager need to realize as well, regardless of the situation, that stadium's fucking packed week in, week out. Spurs fans still turn up, which shows that they're still behind the team. When we go to away games, we bring a large crowd with us, and it's fucking noisy. So I think them players and the managers and everybody inside the club need to start getting respect for the fans. At the end of the day, if people didn't put the pressure on Levy, if fans didn't boo at certain times, there would be no standards around this football club, because no one within it is holding any sort of fucking consistent standard, and that's where it starts. So if the biggest problem is inside, get some standards inside, and we'll see about that. But all they do is moan about fans for protesting, putting pressure on, booing, letting them know certain things are not acceptable. That's all they do. But there's no standards inside. So once they bring that, then they might generate some more support.
They seem to forget, Dave, it's our club. The fans own the club. It's not the players or the owners. It's our football club. We own it, us, the fans, and we have a right to boo. We have a right to protest. We have a right to say when something isn't right, when something's not happening. Dave, we've seen enough of this over the last 25 years with Enoch. And look, whenever Frank is there or not, we got a transfer window coming up. So if Frank does stay there and he weathers the storm and he earns people's trust back and he gets people starting back behind him again, the club have to back him in the January transfer window, Dave. So I had a bit of an update from my people that we use on this channel that give us information about transfers and that. These are rumours until proven otherwise, so it's always the same. So the first one is Simeone. Bournemouth won 85 million. Spurs are trying to take it down to 75 million. I want to start there first.
Oh, Semenyo, you mean?
Semenyo from Bournemouth, sorry. Do you know, why do we just pay the 85 million? Why do we have to start? Oh, look, we'll give you 75 plus 10 million on this add-on. Why can we not say, you want 85, right, there you go, and get the player in? I mean, and then you got the FC Porto exciting young striker. Looks to cost around 75 million in early talks, but Spurs wanted to structure the deal to suit both parties. And then you got Vantovic, 20 million. This is the one that gets me. Vantovic, 20 million, just working out a payment plan. Do we really need a payment plan for 20 million? I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, these are supposed to be billionaires that have loads of money. Do you know, surely 20 million they could put out from the back of their sofas and say, well, there you go. And this is the best bit. Spurs are trying to make a loan with a guaranteed payment in the summer. However, Juventus are concerned that they will be left out of pocket in case Tottenham don't want Vantovic at the end of that loan. Have you ever heard so much waffle from Tottenham in all your life, Dave? I mean, out of them three, who do you think we will get in January?
Yeah, look, first of all, Dermot, you know me, when it comes to the transfer window, I don't bother getting worked up by a lot of what's being printed and stuff. Because at the end of the day, I understand it's a big money making operation, you know, for the likes of the papers, the journals, everybody. You know, it's one big operation where everyone claims to have all these inside sources and everything else. And the reality is about 2% of what they actually print per club probably happens over the course of the transfer window. So for me, I wait until everyone starts saying the same message. And then I'm like, okay, this one genuinely has legs.
Yeah.
This one genuinely looks like it's going to get done. Up until then, I don't believe any of it, to be honest with you. When it comes to like structuring payment plans, I think I understand the frustration in terms of, you know, right now you would argue it's a need, so just go and pay what they're looking for. But I think at times you are well within your right to do payment plans, because at the end of the day, if you can structure that and pay for some of it or a lot of it further down the line, it allows you to do extra business that maybe you couldn't have got done, you know, in that window. So I do understand, you know, a bit behind it. But look, in terms of Semenyo, I think it's one we could definitely go and try and do. I know now at Liverpool there's a coach there that was worked with Semenyo at Bournemouth. Bit of a connection there and probably a must need. Salah's finished. They're going to need, you know, the next buy in that can sort of be the new Mo Salah. So I think Liverpool would probably go all out for him. But I'm hoping that maybe a couple of players that Real Madrid might become available, or some players at other big clubs might become available that might attract their interest, which means then we could hopefully get a free run at Semenyo. I think bringing him in down that left-hand side will solve a massive problem. Imagine having him down one side and Kudus down the other. But I think our big draw for Semenyo is he's friends with Kudus. Come to London, you know? So I think that's one we should definitely make happen. Vlahovic, I would like if he's on the market. I know it hasn't really worked out at PSG, but before PSG, he was on the rise, and he was you know, one that was everybody was looking at around Europe. And I know it hasn't worked out for him at Juventus. However, I've been around the game long enough to understand that sometimes a player in a club, for whatever reason, just doesn't work. And I go, for instance, Diego Forlan at Man United couldn't hit a barn door. Got out, went to Villarreal, become Europe's best striker for quite a period of time. So for me, I wouldn't mind bringing in someone like Vlahovic and moving on Richarlison, although he did score again last night. That's 3-3 now for Richie.
Yeah, it is.
And then, you know, I'd definitely look at maybe another fullback option. I think if we could bring it in, would be a necessity. And if there was another midfielder in the market, I'd look to do that. I think, you know, if we could get in 3 or 4 bits of business, I think it would definitely show from the Lewis family that there is maybe that intention there, and that they're backing up some of the words that they've been putting out there this season.
Yeah. I don't trust them, Dave. I do not trust them one little bit. I think they're tarred off the same brush, them and Levy. I don't think nothing's going to change. And I know me and Rain had this disagreement for the start of the season that there shouldn't be protests at the first home game of the season. And then the next week is, right now, start protesting. But I do really feel, Dave, that they missed the trick. Change for Tottenham. I feel by taking the foot off the gas, by sort of not doing anything, I feel that they've lost the momentum they were building when it came to the owners. And I think they needed to keep the momentum going. And I just feel just because it's a new group of people doesn't mean it's a change of ownership. It's still the same ownership.
Mm.
We needed to keep we needed to keep the momentum going. I feel they've really missed the trick. Now, I'm not part of Change for Tottenham, so this is only my opinion. I live in Ireland, so I can't get to do all the protests. But I just feel they missed the trick, Dave. Do you think they have, or do you think I'm being a bit harsh? And big up to Iceman in the chat, by the way. Big up
About the protest.
about them missing the trick. Have they missed the trick by taking the foot off the gas? If they kept the momentum going, do you think it would have worked out better in the summer? Because of Daniel Levy leaving, we got what we wanted, but the other half's still there.
I understand what you're saying, but were you not of a different opinion in the summer where you were like, we shouldn't protest until after the transfer window?
My protest was, don't protest at the first home game in the season, and Thomas Frank's first home game. I had no problem of the protest. I think protesting was good because it keeps up the pressure on the Lewis family to go and do something. Now, there's a lot that happened in the background, Dave, that we don't know about the Daniel Levy leaving, suddenly being announced Daniel Levy is left after 25 years. I don't think we'll ever will know. I think there were so many NDAs and I feel there's a lot of bad blood there between him and Enoch, him and Joe Lewis. I do feel that. Oh yeah, okay. Tequila says I was. So he's thrown me under the bus completely. He says, yes, that is what Dermot said. Not at the oh right, okay. You're backing me up. Okay, thank you, Tequila. I thought you throw me under the bus. Thank you. Oh no, I'm gonna pay for that later. Sorry. But I just think yeah. Now that Dermot hates Frank, he wouldn't mind exactly carry on. But I do feel there was a lot more going on behind the scenes, Dave, than we thought, than we knew. Didn't you know? Our summer window up and down, didn't it? It really was.
Yeah.
Start protesting now. Before January, do a protest before the January window. Let the Lewis family know we're still here. I think it needs to be done, Dave. I think Change for Tottenham have to come out and do one protest over Christmas. Do a protest. Let them know we haven't gone away. Or am I being too harsh where people say, oh, we need to give them a window. We need to give them no, keep going.
I understand. I understand the point you're trying to make, actually. I think, if you really want to maybe help Thomas Frank, come the January transfer window, and let the Lewis family know that they're still on borrowed time. They still have a point to prove. I think setting up protest, calling for, I think would be a good idea. Would it generate the support? I'm not quite so sure. I think Levy going has quietened down a lot of the noise, and I think many people probably adopt the approach. I'm waiting for the Lewis family to show me what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And then I'll make my decision accordingly. I just think that's what's going to happen. Look, at the end of the day, to be honest with you, I'm not going to tell Change for Tottenham what to do. I know a couple of the guys right there, mainly Billy, and to be honest with you, fair play to them. Like, these guys, they get up off their own backsides, create an organization, try and put the awareness out there, give up their own time to go on different podcasts and stuff like that to spread the awareness and stuff like that, and they put themselves in the firing line, because at the end of the day, a lot of these guys do face, some vocal criticism from people that maybe don't agree with it and stuff like that. So fair play to them. And at the end of the day, they probably know what way is best around it, to be fair.
Yeah, no, we've asked them to come on our channel more than once, and they've always blackballed us. They've always let us down. Like, so, no, fair play to what they're doing. But I, from my point of view, there would be a series of questions I would ask Billy, and I would like to know what his answers would be. And maybe if you are watching Billy and Gang, Your invite is still open for you to come onto the channel, and we'd love to talk to you about it, because I think it's every Tottenham channel should get together behind this and support Change for Tottenham and support the way of keeping the owners honest. It's the only way to do it. It's our football club at the end of the day. Dave, there is fans that say protest doesn't work. Why we're protesting, it doesn't work. Do you feel the protest wasn't the reason why Levy left, but do you think it made it so uncomfortable for him that the Lewis family thought, hang on a minute here, we need to make this go away? Do you know what I'm getting? If we get rid of that fella, then that takes the pressure off us. If we bring in a whole new structure, Vinay in, Paratici back, you've got Viv, you've got Vinay, you've got Charlie. Do you know what I mean? A whole new group. As Tequila says, my new best buddies. Tequila is convinced I know them. They're my new best mates. You know, I don't know why he thinks that, but he thinks I'm well in with the Lewis family, which it was. Me and Dave will be sitting in posh studios now, being sponsored by Qatari Airways. You know, I'm sure me and Dave would take Qatari, a Qatari prince coming in to sponsor our channels, Dave. I don't think you would say no, neither would I. You know, do you think that had something to do with it? To take
Look, people say protesting doesn't work.
Yeah,
but I disagree. I think at the end of the day, if you're not happy with something, you know, everyone has the right to try and protest and put it right.
Yeah.
I think the thing that people miss with protesting is, you know, it starts off as a sort of what would you say, ground level, you know, low level movement or whatever. I don't know. I'm not sure what the right terminology is there. And it sort of, you know, get together people that have noticed the same thing as you. And then what it actually does, though, Dermot, it starts highlighting issues. And then what it does do, you know, it brings more and more people on board. And then it starts bringing the attention of, say, the media and people like that who may never have brought attention to it before, may never have shone a spotlight on it before. And what it does, it creates more than enough noise for them to not talk about it. And once they have to start talking about it, then, you know, people inside the club then have to acknowledge what's going on. So was it the direct cause of what happened to Daniel Levy? No. But I think it certainly started it. And I think it certainly made them think about it inside the club for sure. Because at the end of the day, when the likes of Sky start picking up on it, it's happening at games and everything else. Yeah. They can't sit there and ignore it because then they'll be the first ones being accused of just, you know, not sharing every side of the story and being biased and stuff like that. So they have to then highlight it and talk about it. And once they do that, then people inside the club have to acknowledge it. So that's where I feel like it has a massive impact.
Yeah, I do. And look, can I just say I hope what I said wasn't, I think Change for Tottenham do great for Tottenham. I wasn't pleased what I said wasn't coming across anywhere. Just I think all channels have to be engaged in this. All channels have to come together and be as one if we're to gain any success with this moving forward. Because I feel a united front is a harder front, it's a better front, and everyone's got to go to these protests. And it doesn't matter if you're coming from Ireland like me and Dave for our 1 or 2 games a year. If they're on, we will turn up. I was at the Palace game. We were walking up to the high road and we were told it'd be called off. And then Dave, who joined me next to me, said, no, the protests happened. So a bit of better communication, I think, is needed at games, definitely. And to be fair, also, I think they were very good when they said about fans walking out at halftime. And I did actually DM them about it. And they got back to me and they said, you don't have to leave. You're coming over for your 1 game a year. We understand that. And I thought that was very fair of them, Dave. I thought that was extremely fair of them. So you go and enjoy your day. I said, I do my protests in other ways and I explained to them what to do. Yeah, fine. And I think that's fair. I think that's fair that they seem to, I think at games, they seem to, the fans that come over overseas, they seem to be fair with them, don't they? Where I think other protests wasn't. And I think they tried to be fair to everyone. With what's happening now, Dave, and I was going to go. Oh yeah, that was it. with what's happening this season and linked to last season with the defeats at home, Dave, and I can't remember a home form like this since 92, 93 under Peter Shreves, where we had a woeful home record that year. And I remember the pitch being eaten up and that. It's football. Look, you've played the game to a certain level, Dave. Okay. I played at the county level in England for St. Albans City. You played it. I think you nearly went to professional with it, didn't you?
No,
If I'm right.
No, I wasn't nearly professional. I was in an academy when I was younger. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Well, you were nearly professional. You went further than me. So we both played it sort of a high level. I know Colin played it to a really high level. And back then, Dave, psychology wasn't the big thing in sport, was it? To be fair.
No.
You look at other sports, psychology, you look at motor race, Formula One, you look at boxing, all psychology was in there in sports. Football, be a man about it, get on with it, and, just get on with it. Psychology is crept into sport now a lot, especially into football. Do you think it's a psychological thing at home with these group of players that they can't get a win at home? They play brilliantly away from home some games. You look at Man City, you look at Leeds. Okay, Newcastle was a disaster, but there's other games that we've played really well playing for home. Do you think it's psychological at home? Do you think somebody has to come in and say to them, right, block out the noise, think you're playing away from home? Do you think once they get a good win at home, that might banish the bad memories of what's been happening? Because this has been happening under Ange, it happened under Conte. It's been going on for a long time, Dave. We haven't really had a good season at home since our last season at White Hart Lane. Do you know what I mean? And what is it? Is it something to do with the new stadium? Is it? Is it not White Hart Lane? Do you know what I mean? What is it? Arsenal went through it as well when they moved from Highbury to the Emirates. Teams don't go through it. Do you think it's a moving stadium thing?
I'm not quite so sure. Look, I think with us last year, I think they're isolated problems last year and this year. I think last year, look, we had a lot of injuries, but it's clear our eggs were in the Europa League basket.
Yeah,
and that's just the reality of it. So that leads to the lack of performances on the weekend, home and away last year. It was a problem both in the Premier League. This year, our away form is actually quite good. Our home form is shocking. But I think the home form this year comes down to the same tactics being employed away from home as at home. And they're different games. Away from home, the tactics work because usually the opposition are coming onto you and they leave space for you to be able to go and counter. At home, the onus is on us to go and take the game to the opposition. And we just don't have that ability or we're not allowed to do it. And I think that's where your problem comes in at home. How often do we get into halftime? Nil all, dejected, looking shit, haven't laid a glove on them, barely got a shot, and we're sitting back watching them pass it around.
Yeah, I agree. Big up to Bing, guys. I think he makes a good point here, Dave. A lot of shady shit's been going on, guys. I don't know what he means by that, but yeah. Put it in the chat. Why? Send it in the super chat. Let us know. Gunnar, as Conte once said that in famous conference, Tottenham always disrupt the integrity of managers to hide the other F-up situations when they're going. Do you know what? I watched that press conference the other day, Dave. A lot of what he says is still happening now. It happened last season. Do you know what I mean? It's our medical team is next to useless. When's that ever going to be fixed?
Yeah.
Do you think a lot of what Conte said has been fixed, or do you think it's only been a plaster over a crack? Because when he came out that night, and I remember talking to you about it that time, and firstly we were all shocked he did it. But do you think it needed to be done? Do you think Tottenham have learned anything from the Conte outburst? Because I think they have and they haven't, in my view.
I don't think so, Dermo, to be brutally honest with you. I don't think so. He said there's no pressure or anything to perform or win. You're allowed. It's okay to lose here. I mean, we're losing more than ever before.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he was. He's doing well at Napoli, isn't he? He's doing quite well. He was vocal at Napoli there a little while ago.
That's why I warned people: don't make Conte the butt of all of your problems. He's a good manager with pedigree behind him. Leave Spurs and go on and do well.
Yeah, every manager has done, apart from Ange, who didn't last very long. As Tequila says, He lasted 10 games and he was the best in the world. Apparently, the protests about this is true. Protests about me taking over at Spurs, and he says Tequila's already signed as chief executive. I put Dave in as chief motivator, getting him in that changing room. Big up to David Clark. He said for some of the youngsters in the squad, they need the Spurs crowd to make more noise. Stoke City home fans with a small crowd make 4 times the noise. David, look, I understand what you're getting at, and Dave probably agree. We need some. We went to the Palace game last year, Dave, and the Palace fans were fantastic, weren't they? We were sitting there like you and me were trying to get a going, weren't we? You and me were singing and shouting. Poor old Philip Brady was trying as well, bless him. But you need something off the pitch, don't you? The fans need to be fed, and then we can feed it back. I think this blaming the fans shite is wrong. I really do, Dave. I don't know why people blame the fans. Players have to take responsibility. It's their job. They're being paid to play football. So if you went to buy, say you bought Tottenham, you went in there, you're the new owner. What's the one thing you would change at Tottenham if you could change one thing? And I put it to the chat as well. If you were owner at Tottenham, what's the first thing you'd change?
Start holding people accountable, Dermo, for what's going on inside the club. Stop keeping people around the club for so long when things ain't working. Stop offering people new contracts and paying them. You know, if you're not getting results, sack them and get the next guy in. You know, start holding people accountable. For instance, the medical department. You had the same guy in there for 20 years before we brought in this new guy. Yeah, football's evolved, football's changed, you know, and if our injury problems are getting worse and worse, then surely you got to start looking at him. How did he last so long? You know, why did it take so long for Paratici to have to come in here and do an internal review of the club to evaluate everybody? Should that not be happening on a season-to-season basis or on every 6 months basis at this football club? You know, at the end of the day, you're talking millions of pounds. Every mistake is consequential. Every mistake costs you millions of pounds, which means it's high stakes, which means if you're not performing, you should get, like, we sort of have the attitude, pat them on the back, all right, forget about it. Next one. You want to start, like, you know, you want to start generating a real performance-based sort of culture or an environment in and around the club. That's how you do it. Hold people accountable.
Yeah, Man United did it for years, didn't they? Fergie did it. Fergie ran the club from top to bottom. He knew everyone that worked in the canteen to the fella that worked up the top. No, I agree with you, Dave. It has to be accountability. Tequila says it here as well. I'm big up to Philip Brady. He says bright spots from last night. Morani getting off the mark. Overall, the effort shown in relation to the nightmare on Sunday last. Absolutely. Big up to Matthew as well. We conceded 9 goals in the last 2 games, but according to Thomas Frank Engine, he is stabilizing the defense. Yeah. I think Dave's scratching his head at that one too, to be fair. We need better players. Simple. Exactly. Wayne says the old lane was smaller, more compact, thus creating a damn good atmosphere. The new lane lacks that. Do you miss White Hart Lane, Dave?
Domo, just quickly on the, you know, we need better players. I think that's a fair argument to make, right? It
is a very fair argument to make.
It is. But, you know, last night, we didn't bring in new players for him. The instructions were different to the Arsenal game. We had a plan in possession. We had a plan to what area to target to try and win the ball. Them little things from the manager matter and can make a big difference. Look what we got out of Mawani last night. Look at what we got out of other players last night. It's not like that's what I've been telling. That's what I've been trying to tell people. It's not all just down to the playing squad. Some of it is down to instructions, because you know. If like to my point, we didn't give him new players for last night. We looked better because the instructions were different.
Yeah, I agree. Who impressed you last night, Dave? Who was the one player that really impressed you?
Yeah, look, I think Randall, call him Owani for me, Jack. Or Dermo, sorry, 2 goals and an assist. You know, everyone goes, like, you look at that assist,
that's a compliment.
For instance, if that ball comes to the back post the way it did for Owani, Richarlison is trying to head that on goal. Owani has the nous, has the whereabouts. No, he's obviously aware of his surroundings and what's going on. And it's just a lovely little cushion death header back across. You couldn't miss. You know, it was unbelievable. Then his 2 goals. The first one, he nearly gave the guy concussion on the line. It was smacked that hard. accurate with a bit of
Yeah.
power towards goal. Exactly what you want from your striker. And then the second goal gets on the ball, skins 2 players, buries it. But not only that, it's been done in a big game on the big stage. When was the last time we've had a player that stepped up in that way? And for me, he's the player that excites me most because, to be honest with you, he's the guy that's going to be the difference between dragging us up the table and finishing in European spots, or us falling further down the table and our season petering out. He is the difference for me. We need the ability to score goals. We've shown if you provide the guy with chances, he will score.
He's also unselfish as well, Dave. He's very unselfish. You look at the Copenhagen game, me and Tequila were talking about it. You look between Richarlison and Morani. Morani took that ball down, and you're right about his awareness. He looked around, right, I can't score. Who can score? Odegaard's there, right, I give it to him. And you look at the penalty. Scarlett wins the penalty on his Champions League debut. Richie, I'm having it. Instead of saying, do you know what? Let's give it to Scarlett. He's making his debut. Let's give it to him. I think that's the difference. I think Richie plays better with a second striker up there, Dave. I think I saw that last night. He looks more comfortable. He doesn't like playing on his own. He can't play on his own. And when he has somebody else up there with him, I think he looks more confident. So for me, Morani was brilliant last night. I want to see what he's like. If he continues this form for the rest of the season, Dave, I think it might be worth looking into how much would he cost or get him on another loan. I think we do have to get rid of Deadwood in the squad as well. I think the squad needs an overhaul. I think players. You look at Romero last night. I was so disappointed with Romero last night, and it's not the first time he's done this, Dave. It's not the first time he's let us down. Somebody put it in my chat earlier on or last night that he cares more about Argentina than Tottenham. I think that's a bit unfair. Yeah, he does care about Tottenham. He's our captain, and he loves being captain. Do you feel that? We've seen it before, Dave. We've seen it plenty of times with plenty of different players on the managers. Do you think there's a group of players loving Frank, and there's a group of players being frustrated by Frank?
I think there's a group of players, Dermo, in general. I think they like Frank, genuinely. Like, I mean, even those that want him out, I don't think they'll have anything against his character. I think they'll all say he's a really nice guy. And he comes across as a real nice guy, a real personable guy. And any of the videos I've ever watched of him on YouTube, any of the stuff I've seen on him, on the TV and stuff like that. So I think in that way, like everyone will have respect for him.
Yeah.
But do I think they believe and fully buy into the approach? I don't think so. I really don't think so. I think at the start, I think they were buying into it in terms of, that they needed that defensive structure. And as a team, I think they probably realized that. But I think as time has gone on, and look, Thomas Frank has sort of alluded to himself, who came in here and it was all about defensive structure. They didn't really work or focus on forward play. And to a large degree, we're seeing that. But we're also approaching the point of the season where we're coming up against team now, and they're like, what have you got going forward? And it's becoming a problem.
It is.
And that is an area that he has to fix. And when you look at the way our squad has been built and what they were used to last year, I think there is an element of them scratching their head going, okay, it's all well and good setting up against the opposition. We get that. But what about us going forward? What are we going to do to go and hurt the opposition to win these games? Not just set up to take a point and try and snatch a win. But how do we set up, least we'll take is a draw, but how do we go and actually go and win these games? And and I think that sort of aligns with the Telegraph thing that came out after the Telegraph report that came out after North London Derby, where they sort of spoke about that the players have gone to Frank and asked them to sort of change the approach, that they want a more game plan focused around how they're going to hurt the opposition. Because at the end of the day, Frank isn't dealing with Brentford level players. A lot of the players at Brentford that he was bringing in, they wanted the Premier League dream. They would have done anything to play in the Premier League and get a bit of that money and give themselves that sort of profile. So they buy in because they know their level. A lot of them probably know they're lucky to be there. At Tottenham Hotspur, you're buying players with egos that are all fully fledged internationals, stuff like that. So they are more focused about themselves and stuff like that. You see that as a more and more more and more modern day mentality across sports in general. Like I watch a lot of Formula One documentaries, NFL documentaries, hockey documentaries, sprinting, cricket, the whole lot. It seems to be a modern day thing where they're all more focused on themselves rather than what the opposition's going to throw at them or who they're up against and stuff like that. So I think that's where Thomas Frank needs to adapt a little bit for Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah, I agree. I said it earlier, Dave, didn't I, on my play rating show, to the one person put in the comment, where's the player ratings? There was player ratings in there. I just needed to get a lot out of my chest, so I decided to do that. So if you didn't like it, thank you for watching, though. Very kind of you. Leaving a comment shows you watched the whole show, so thanks. Tequila likes Saki me, apparently, so I tried to be Saki sometime during stream, so it keeps Tequila happy. Look, what I was going to say, Dave, I said it earlier that you're right. I think he's struggling to manage egos, and I think this is where his coaching staff needs to come in and help him a bit more, Dave. And I think this is where he needs his team around him to help him navigate these.
But the thing is, though, Dermot, his team is operating off his directive.
Yeah, that's true.
That's how a coaching team operates. They don't come into the manager like some of them. Like a real good coaching team will sort of sometimes challenge the manager and go, well, look, I think this is the right way about it. And a good manager listens. But in general, a lot of what they're doing in training is off the manager's directive and what he wants them to do.
Yeah. Ange Ball says Romero lost his scoop because Scar was asking for the ball when he deposed for the third PSG goal. Romero lost his rag yesterday because you watch back Sarr arm movement. He's so livid. He went full on Jake LaMotta, raging ball. Yeah, then he give away the penalty, really. Big up to Iceman. I just think Frank is too nice as a Prem manager. Surely you need to have a bit of bite about. I think being a Premier League manager, Dave, you need a bit of. I think you need a bit of, what's the word? There's nice, but you also need to be nasty as well. A bit of Dr. Jekyll and Dr. Hyde, if you know what I mean.
I think he's shown that he can certainly manage at this level. Yeah. But the big question around it is, at what level in the Premier League? There's different levels. Yeah. Are you a manager that can consistently have a team challenging for Champions League and you know, the domestic cups and, you know, consistently being a big four team? Are you a manager that can take teams and be also runs where they sort of finish in UEFA Cup or Conference League consistently? Or are you a manager that's just good at taking teams up and punching above your level and finishing mid-table? You know, and I think that's the question around Thomas Frank. And, you know, I've seen it. I saw something interesting there a couple of days ago where I think someone made a valuable point where it was like very few managers actually work out that make the step up from lower down in the Premier League to the top of the Premier League. And that's purely down to because there's a different expectation on them. A lot of these managers have made their name off how proactive they've been about stifling the opposition. Whereas when you go to a bigger club, you've got bigger and better players to work with, and the expectations from everybody is completely different. You are expected to go and try and, you know, lay a glove on the opposition. You are expected to try and go and score goals. And a lot of these managers struggle to adapt away from what they know or implement different things that make it even more effective or, you know, sort of bridge the gap a little bit. A lot of these managers struggle when they make that step up. And I've seen that time and time again. For instance, Nuno from Wolves to Tottenham Hotspur. But when he went back to Forest, he managed to bring Forest from a team that was nearly relegated, punching above the way into Europe. Yeah, but at Tottenham, when the expectations are different, are on you, and you have to play a certain style, or a lot of your games you're expected to go after the opposition rather than counter them. He couldn't do it. Look at Graham Potter when he made the step up from Brighton up to Chelsea. Everyone else was sitting there applauding it. Oh, he's going to do well. I was one of the only ones that sat there, and I said, this guy is going to be exposed at Chelsea. He didn't last pissing time. The only manager that's ever, in my lifetime that has sort of really worked out for us in that regard, that has made that leap, was Pochettino. But he brought Southampton up, playing a certain style of football. He didn't change his style of football when he got to the Premier League. He continued on. He finished 7th with that team. So when he came to Tottenham, he didn't actually have to adjust his style of football, his principles, his training regime, none of that. He just had to implement it. That's why he worked out. And that's why I have the question mark around Thomas Frank. However, I think he's making a better fist of it than Nuno. And right now, where I'm at with it, 50-50, there are green shoots that show if he can implement, what he done against PSG and keep that sort of moving forward with a few more additions, I think, he can make that adjustment. If he keeps reverting back to looking to counter the opposition, eventually Spurs fans are going to get tired of it.
Yeah, and I think some of them are there. I think some of them are nearly there. I think some of them are sort of there. Look, Fulham's going to be a big game, Dave. So what I want, we're going to end off. We've got one question about Ronaldo and then one question about the AJ fight, which we didn't get to talk about. We always end on a little boxing thing, which me and Dave love boxing. So we do end off this podcast on boxing. Score predictions, Dave, for Fulham at home.
I'd like to think we're going to try and keep the same sort of energy,
Yeah.
the same sort of enthusiasm, and build off the back of that. Some of the positives that we've seen against PSG. I think if we end up sort of reverting back to the way we've played before that PSG game, I think it could end badly for us. And look, Marco Silva's a manager that's done fantastic at Fulham, by the way, with what he's got. It's not going to be an easy game, The warning signs are there. Whenever we play them, it's always a difficult type game. But it's how we go about it. Do we go about it to try and win the game? And I think that will go a long way to appeasing a lot of Spurs fans, maybe frustrations of late. But I'm also well aware how many times off the back of Europe do you see maybe a bit of a lackluster first half, and then teams that have played in Europe get going in the second. However, I think what's in our favour, this game is an 8 p.m. kickoff. So I would expect not to see that, and these players be well up for it and ready to go. So, you know what? I could see us maybe, winning that one 2-1, 3-1. That would be nice.
It will. I'm going for a 2-1 win myself. Newcastle, I'm hoping for a draw, Dave. 1-0. What's your score prediction for Newcastle?
Oh, Jesus. I don't want to predict for that one, Dermo. Not with some of the hidings we've took up there recently. When was the last time we've got a result up there?
Oh, fuck me, a long time ago. Well, look, we'll leave the Newcastle game to next week's podcast. Well, we're going to talk about
it's going to be a huge problem.
Yeah, it is. Look, Dave, we always end it on a little bit of boxing. We always do. There was the announcement of Jake Paul and AJ. Look, you and me are not really sort of up for it. We hope AJ just knocks his spark out and just knocks him out of there. Look, money is big. You'd be stupid to turn down $70 million just for 8 rounds. One question: do you think does AJ have to knock him out for him to get any credibility from this fight?
I think for him to walk away with any sort of respect, I think he needs to end them and end them very early, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Look, I understand it from AJ's point of view. Considering he's got Eddie Hearn in his corner telling him it's a good idea, I can understand the influence behind it. At the end of the day, he's going to want to warm up fight before Tyson Fury, right? Now, he could go and get that against a nobody, a middle of the rank sort of fighter. He's going to get fuck all money for it. I suppose if you're going to step in the ring, you may as well try and get paid what you would for the Fury fight anyway, which he's going to get for this fight. It's astronomical. So I can understand it. If you're going to step in, if you're in his position, you're coming towards the end of your career, it can survive you for, say, another 10, 15 years towards the end of your lifespan. Why wouldn't you take it? Which means he doesn't have to work. And let's not forget, he's also got family that he helps out and stuff. So you can understand it from his point of view.
Oh, yeah.
However, where I question it, is it the best preparation ahead of a Tyson Fury fight? Definitely not. There's nothing that Jake Paul is going to replicate anything that Tyson Fury is going to do in the ring. So from that standpoint, in terms of motivation to beat Tyson Fury, I don't see it being a positive for AJ. But in general, I just think the pressure's on AJ because Jake Paul, we all know, we could see from a mile away a lot of these fighters with the money they're making. Like, he fights a lot of fighters that are retired from the UFC, stuff like that. Fought a 50-odd-year-old Mike Tyson, And to be honest with you, he's paying them to take the fall.
Yeah.
Like when he fought Nate Diaz, I thought Nate Diaz, he's known for knocking people out in the ring. He's known for taking a hiding. Look at how that fight went. Come on. You're telling me it's not rigged. So that's where I fear, it could even be to the point that Jake Paul wants to boost his reputation. It goes the distance and AJ wins on distance. If that happens, it's going to lead to even more accusations of it being rigged. And the only one that benefits it is Jake Paul, which means he's just going to get more and more fights off these professional fighters and stuff like
exactly.
that. When it comes to a
ridiculous.
danger point of view, just quickly, I mean, to be honest with you, if Jake Paul's going to put himself in that situation, more fool him. Because to be honest with you, with the power that I've seen in AJ's fists, you know, down the years, you don't lose that. You can still pull out one of them wonder punches. And if he's on the receiving end of that, it's serious problems for Jake Paul beyond being knocked out.
It's like you and me taking on Jake Paul. I think you and me could whip his ass, to be fair. Or if we're like WWE, we could get him in there.
I'll leave whipping his ass to you, Dermo.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, you know what?
I'll whoop him. But if you want to whip him, you can do that.
No, I whoop him. I would whoop him. I would whoop him in one round. I'm Muhammad Ali. I'd dance around the ring, just throw out the jab, and then just book a big haymaker in, take Tyson Fury's thing. Dave, thank you so much for joining me for the latest episode number 4 of Irish Lads Talk Spurs. I know we always end up on the little boxing rant, so we do apologise to all you people that just want to hear football. But we know there's people in the chat that like boxing as well, so we try to please everybody. That's our thing. Dave, where can people find you, bud?
Yeah, you can find me over at the Irish Hotspur. I'm going live there around 6:30 with a few guys from the Kildare Spurs supporters group. Come in, give us your support, and have a listen.
Yeah, do go over there. Really good podcast with the lads. Really good. They really do talk sense. Dave, thank you so much. We're back again next week, guys. Next Thursday at our old time of 1 o'clock. I know we're a bit late this week, so we are back at 1. Let's hope for a better weekend, Dave, when we're coming to do this next week, that we're happy, we're singing, and Tottenham are beating Fulham. We've beaten Newcastle 6 points out of 6, and we're boosting up that league. And we're all singing in big Thomas Frank we love. I just want him to prove me wrong, Dave. And I don't think that's not an awful lot to ask, is it? I just want him to prove me wrong.
No, look, I think there's a general perception. Look, you're a bit different because you have gone early and you have gone Frank out. But you know, I think there's been a general thing that, you know, people are trying to protect this guy at all costs because they hated, you know, the guy previous. And I can understand it to a certain degree, right? But I think there's a perception out there that anyone that raises any questions about what needs to improve, that they're Frank out. But the only reason why I raise these teams, Dermo, is because they need to improve in order for this guy to survive. You know, you look at some of the things he improved that I've questioned. A game plan in possession, you know, how we're going to look turnover ball out of possession. Look at the positivity it's generated. So when people like me highlight some of these things, it's not because we want the guy sacked and we have an agenda. It's because if these teams improve, Tottenham are winning games week in, week out. And that's all we fucking want.
And it makes it better for us. It makes better content for us. It makes better for our viewers. It makes it, everyone can come and enjoy the good times. And we had that at the Europa League final. I didn't get over to the parade. You did. I want to go to the next parade. I want us to win another trophy and I want to go there. But Dave, thanks so much, bud. We are back next week. But coming up here in THFC till we die, we've got the debate tomorrow night between me and Ryan about Thomas Frank, which should be a bit tasty. A little bit tasty. Yeah, we
you and Ryan or you and Ryan?
Me and Ryan.
Interesting.
Tequila and Ryan are moderators. We had to bring moderators in. We had to make it like a presidential moderators, like, so Tequila's in charge. So he's gonna love that. He'd be telling me off. He'd be telling me, stop speaking, Dermo, stop speaking. Yeah, and then we've got all the build up for Fulham. We've got the watch along stuff on Saturday, and then we've got the play ratings and the post match show Sunday. Monday, I'm going to stick my head in the bed somewhere and sleep for the day. And then Tuesday, we've got all the stuff for Newcastle. It's a busy few days, Dave. And then we've got Brentford, which I am at. So if you are going to the Brentford game, I am going to it. I'd love to meet you and meet up, have a drink. I'll be in the number 8 bar before the game. So come and join me there, guys. And yeah, so look, that is the end of episode 4. We're going up on Spotify in the next half hour. But whatever you do, support the lads, support the team. Whatever your grievance of the manager is, let's support the boys on the pitch. Let's get behind them. Let's get 3 points against Fulham, and let's continue this good wave. Come on, you Spurs.
Some lanes are far and wide, with the pride of the fight. On this journey we'll ride, with our passion burning.